G'day, I'm Scotty Tucker. Just want to have a chat about phosphorus, why it's important in an aquatic ecosystem, what it can do, and how you can control it. So phosphorus occurs naturally. It typically comes into aquatic environments through duck poo, leaf litter, anything organic that breaks down over time. You can also have it come in through runoff from rain events. If there's been fertiliser in surrounding paddocks on your watershed, it can enter that way. Most people know phosphorus for its use in fertiliser on lawns and gardens and farming, and it's a very good fertiliser. Problem is, in water, it's an exceptional fertiliser. So with water, phosphorus is actually the main limiting nutrient that in fresh water. So only a tiny amount of phosphorus can result in lots of things growing in water. And typically they're things that you don't actually want to grow. So controlling phosphorus, ideally you want to try and minimise what's coming in the first place. That's the best case scenario. So you can plant around the edges of your dam. If there's gullies or channels coming in, you can look at planting those out to try and use plants to strip out the phosphorus as it comes into the system. Once phosphorus is in the system, you can't actually remove it other than physically/manually removing it. Ways that you can do that in an aquatic system is that you can physically remove it by growing things in there or allowing nature to have what's called a trophic food chain, where bacteria will take up phosphorus, then microinvertebrates, macroinvertebrates. You'll start getting into fish and yabbies, and then ducks and all sorts of wildlife that will come along, and slowly as the phosphorus gets transferred from one food organism to another, it eventually leaves the system. If you're growing fish, when you remove fish and harvest fish, that will remove a degree of phosphorus. You can also remove it by plants. If you use things like floating islands, floating wetlands, you can remove phosphorus by having the plant uptake the nutrient, but that's only really going to be effective if you then harvest the plants and remove the plants. Now, when it comes to the biological type of way of handling phosphorus, there's a couple of things that you can do. One is you can use probiotic treatments where you stimulate aerobic bacteria to uptake the phosphorus as part of their cell structure. They'll lock it up to a degree. Aerating your dam is going to help that process by increasing the numbers of bacteria. Other ways that aeration helps when it comes to phosphorus is that it will act as like a cap or an oxidising layer on the sediment. Now, a lot of phosphorus comes up from the sediment during certain times of the year and certain weather events, and what aeration will do is it will put like a cap over the top of it where it makes it more difficult for that phosphorus to come up and release. In recent years, there's been a lot of development and trends in our industry with phosphorus binding products. So these are things that additives that you'll put into the water, and it will actually bind or stick the phosphorus to it, and it will drop it down from the water column down into the bottom. And then depending on the product, you will also get a binding impact or effect in the sediment as well. And what that means is that if you're using these products to stick the phosphorus together, drop it down to the bottom, and then have it stick to other things in the sediment, it means that it's not available for weed and algae. More recently, we've started working with a different product called PHOSFIX, which is a blend of natural minerals and also bacteria combined. So, there's no withholding period for irrigation, and if you treat it with a large enough dose, you can treat the phosphorus or lock up the phosphorus that's actually in the sediment as well. So the label dose rates, you can dose in a light dose for the water column, a heavy dose for the water column, light dose for the sediment, heavy dose for the sediment, and it's literally a case of the more product that you put in there, the more phosphorus will bind to it and be locked up and unavailable for the weed and algae. So it's quite an effective type of product. Now, it doesn't actually negate the need to continue using aeration and some of the biological stimulants, the Biostim type products. And the reason for that is that the aeration and the biological products are tackling not just phosphorus, but they also combat nitrogen waste. And aeration is just healthy for every organism in the dam anyway. But the Biostim is more specifically targeted on also reducing sludge layers on the bottom, which is also full of phosphorus, nitrogen, and slowly over time those sludge layers impact your water depth. So you don't want to let sludge build up on the bottom. But But if you've got a really stubborn problem with algae, or you know that you've got lots of phosphorus in the water, or if you're using reclaimed water, or you know that you've got high levels of phosphorus, guess what gets washed in after a rain event, then PHOSFIX is going to be a very good product to use to specifically target that phosphorus and bind it up and lock it up so that it's not available for weed and algae. So it's a really great tool for overall management of your dam.